Hi, and welcome to Occupy Ukiah TV for September 20th, 2012. And it's good to be back on the air after quite a while. We've got a really good show today. Let's do our introduction. We're going to be talking a little bit about the state of Occupy Ukiah, what's going on with us right now, where we're headed, what the future looks like. We're also going to be updating you on the city council. You remember I went to the city council and I went back to them actually just yesterday. So we'll do a little update on that. We've still got free farmers market bucks to give away, and that's why Peaches is sitting here. And then we've got 3 videos from Vandana Shiva. Vandana Shiva, if you don't know who she is, you will by the end of this show. She is just one of the most awesome people out there. She's doing amazing work on fighting Monsanto and the GMO takeover of our seeds. She is just wonderful. So 3 videos. Basically, it's going to be a whole lot of her and as little of me as possible. So that's good news. And then we'll have our Howard Zinn quote at the end of the show. So first off, let's talk about the farmers market bucks. And that's why Peaches is back. Around her neck here, as you can see, $20 of farmers market bucks is in this little Chico bag. And if you come to our General Assembly on Saturday, any Saturday at 10 o'clock, unless there are other events, sometimes we get out-occupied by like the classic car show and things like that. And then you're just out of luck because oftentimes we can't have our GA. But at Alex Thomas Park, 10 o'clock Saturday, if you come to our General Assembly and say the word localize, you can have this bag of farmers market bucks good at Fort Bragg Farmers Market, Gualala, Redwood Valley, or Ukiah. So also we have our direct action meeting at the MEC on Sundays at 11. You can come in there and say the word localize and win this bag. If I'm not there by any chance, I don't make every single meeting. We'll get your name, we'll get your number. I promise you, you will win your bucks, but you've got to come and say the magic word. No, the secret word is localize. The secret word is localize. Alex is in the booth. He's giving me a hard time today. It's good to have Alex behind the board. He does a great job, and we've been having a lot of fun today setting up our set. And we've got a few special effects we've been playing with. And so anyway, we want to remind you about the farmers market bucks. I've been trying to give these things away for weeks, and they're yours with the word localize. So we're going to put Peaches down here for a while. We might bring her back later. Let's talk about the state of Occupy Ukiah. Right now, we're running low on people. We've had 3 of our very central figures leave the group for employment reasons and health reasons. Actually, 4 of our central figures. I talked on the last show. We lost Diane Durham. She moved to Oakland. She got a really nice job with benefits and is now living in Oakland. We lost Greg Simsick, who was our engineer for all of our shows here, and also did our video work. He moved to Sacramento, and he got a really nice job with really good benefits and couldn't turn it down. And also we've lost Tom Ray, who had to move back to Pennsylvania for health reasons so he could get health coverage because of our wonderful health system here in this country. And also Tim Hemlock has been out of the picture with also health reasons. He's been back a little bit, but we are really hoping to attract more people who will help us out. We've got a new assistant helping Alex in the booth today. His name is Scott Morgan. Hopefully he's going to be interested enough to take on the engineering job. We'd love to have 2 or 3 people who would be into learning the engineering side of doing the TV show. And also we'd like to have any number of people who would like to sit here at the desk and do shows for Occupy Ukiah TV. As much as I enjoy doing this show, I really don't want to do all of them, and it would really be a lot more interesting to have variety. So rather than just look at me every show, you know, I think it would be much more interesting to have different people with different points of views showing us different things. So please, if you are interested, if you have topics to bring to the show, if you have ideas, if you have scripts, if you have just anything that you think might improve things, or if you'd like to be here in front of the camera, get in touch with us. Come to our General Assemblies, 10 o'clock Saturdays at Alex Thomas Plaza, Sunday 11 o'clock at the MEC on Stanley Street, KMEC. You see the big sign there, the Mendocino Environmental Center. We are going to be we're going to be going to the college and having some general assemblies at the college, and hopefully we can attract some people there. We'd really like to have some youth involved. There's been a lot of so-called gray hairs kind of holding the torch these days. As I look around the Occupy world, I think that the spark was ignited by a lot of the young people, and then after 6 months or so, things didn't change a whole lot, and the older generation has been sort of carrying things on. Well, I think it's time for us to gather our forces together through the generations and learn what it means to make change, and sometimes that takes a long time. It's not going to change overnight. We didn't get in the mess that we find ourselves in this country overnight. It's taken a long, long time, and it's not going to get unraveled and rewoven in just a few short months or even a year. So we have to be dedicated. We've got to be in it for the long haul. You don't have to ruin your life over it, but we'd really like it if people would come to our meetings and volunteer for things that they will follow through on. So I'm constantly asking for help, and we're still asking for help. We hopefully have a new person to run our website. He came to our Sunday direct action meeting, and also I'm still asking for people, if you are good with websites, if you're good with the internet, if you're good with the new social media techniques, we really would love to have you, because a lot of us from my generation aren't really real comfortable with that. And so it really helps to have some of the people under 30 who want to get involved with this, who can help us use some of that technology. It's very easy for you guys. You grew up with it. I didn't. You know, I grew up with a TV. You had to change it without a remote even. I don't want to get into it. So anyway, we're asking for help from any age. It is your organization. Occupy Ukiah does not belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us. We don't have a leader. We are all leaders. We work by consensus. That's a big, tall order of business, and it also is amazingly fulfilling. When you come to consensus as a group, it means that you've been cooperating, you've been listening, you've been speaking from the heart, you've been doing your best to do your best. And it's really an amazing feeling to make decisions through consensus. And I really encourage you to come join us. You can sit and observe, you can take part, you can come and go. So Saturdays especially, we're open to public input. If you come to the meeting on Saturday, you can come and we'll give you a few minutes to speak your mind, ask questions, we'll update you on what we're up to. Sunday is a little bit more focused. We're going to really ask you to listen and learn the ropes to take part. Anyway, you're welcome to come to either meeting, and that's about all I have to say on that right now. Sorry, I'm kind of congested. I'm getting over some kind of bug that went through the other day. Yesterday, I went back to the city council with the Fukushima resolution. I went to them earlier this summer, as you may remember, if you do watch the show regularly, and talked with them about working together on a letter to encourage our representatives to talk to the Japanese government and encourage them to accept outside help with the cleanup. If you've been watching the show, you've seen a lot of nuclear shows. You've seen a lot of Fukushima shows. And so you must know by now that Fukushima is no better than the day it started, and in many ways it's worse off. But it is absolutely no better. And it is in very, very precarious situation. We have 3 units, 3 nuclear reactors that have gone into full meltdown, and there is nothing that has been done with those reactors. They can't be covered with concrete like they did at Chernobyl. And as so far, those buildings have not been reinforced. So if there's a big earthquake or a tsunami or typhoon that breaks the seal on those buildings, it's going to release a torrent of radiation into our atmosphere, and we have to deal with even more. So this resolution that I took to the city council was written up by members of Fukushima Response, a group in the Bay Area who took this resolution to the Sonoma County Democratic Party and to the State of California Democratic Party, and both organizations signed on to this resolution. And basically, I won't read the whole thing, but it says that given the fact that these reactors are in such a precarious situation, and given that if there's any further damage at these reactors, it can cause a planetary crisis. Given that situation, they are asking the United States to please put pressure on the Japanese government to accept outside help. At this time, the only people that are working on the Fukushima cleanup are Japanese corporations, and they are mired in layer upon layer upon layer of contractors and subcontractors, and even the Japanese mafia called the Yakuza is involved, and everybody's got their hand out, and they're making money on this cleanup. Nobody should be making money on this. They should be asking for the best minds, the best engineers from all over the world to solve this really incredibly severe crisis that, number one, threatens the existence of Japan, basically, and number two, super threatens our environment, which is everybody. Our ocean, our fish, they're not even ours. The plants, the fish, the air, the soil. As you saw in one of the videos last time, Seattle got dosed with 40,000 times the normal radiation reading shortly after Fukushima. 40,000 times is a lot of radiation. Now that just doesn't go away. That goes into the soil, that goes into the plants, that goes into the animals, and it accumulates, and it does not cool off for thousands of years. That's very serious. And it's very serious to me. That's my hometown. It should be very serious to all of us because it's our home planet. And we don't want to see that happen here in Ukiah, here in California, here on our planet. We have to do everything we can. So this resolution basically asks for help because Japan is very proud. They don't really respond very well to Japanese public opinion, but they do respond and are very sensitive to United States public opinion and United States government opinion. So when Mr. Yastel Yamada was here, the last show that we did showed his presentation. He asked for us to make a big voice to pressure our government, to pressure the Japanese government to accept help. So that's what this resolution is basically asking, and I pleaded with the City Council to please read it and to please sign it. Get the ball rolling. We want to have every municipality in the county. We want to have the County Board of Supervisors, which I'm going to go to on the 25th with this resolution. We want to have them sign it. We'd like to have all the counties in Northern California sign it. We would like to have all the counties in California sign it, and as many municipalities as will sign it. We'd like to get this ball rolling. We want to make that big voice. Okay, so that's the story there. I will update you. The mayor basically said thank you for the information, and we'll let you know what's going on. So I'm not going to let them off the hook. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to keep you. You should also log on to the city and read the city council minutes to follow this topic. It's very important. I'd love it if Ukiah was the first city in the country to sign this resolution, and if we could get this ball rolling and have all of the cities sign it. That's a big order. It could be done. And this group, Fukushima Response, that I'm now involved in, is possibly the very group that could help to get this ball rolling. Okay, so today we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking a lot about GMOs. And remember, we've got Proposition 37 on the ballot this November, which, excuse me, I'm just going to be doing this today. I'm still clearing out from this bug. We've got Prop 37 that is requiring the labeling of GMOs to be in the state of California. Anything with GMOs in it has to be labeled. And there's a lot of complaints from big industry on this one. And sorry about that, but we want to know what's in our food. It's only fair. You want to know if MSG is in your food, and you want to also know if GMOs are in your food or any other pesticides on top of that. So, to support the GMO information, we have got these great videos today from this really amazing woman, Vandana Shiva, who is from India, and she is probably the major thorn in Monsanto's side these days. She's an amazing international activist, and she is talking about the state of seed saving around the world and in India in particular. She's talking about the effects of GMOs on our environment and on seed saving in particular. If you are not familiar with the state with the serious condition of what GMOs can do to the state of our seeds, your garden, these videos are going to be really invaluable. Since you are a Ukiah resident and a Mendocino resident, I would guess that you have a bit of a clue on this. Well, this is going to be just some really wonderful supporting evidence. I'm going to stop talking. I need to stop talking. And we're going to listen to Vandana Shiva. This is part 1, called The Future of Food.
Behind our food, to life.
The myth of genetic engineering that's been put out in terms of saying this is the solution to hunger is a totally false myth, because there are only 2 applications that have been commercialized in these 20 years of genetic engineering. One is to make seeds more resilient to herbicides, which means you get to spread more Roundup, you get to spread more glyphosate, and you get to spread more poison. Not a very desirable trait in farming systems, especially since what Monsanto will call weeds are actually alternative sources of food. For example, in India, Monsanto had ads selling Roundup with weeds around a woman's hands saying, "Liberate yourself." But what Monsanto calls weeds is food for the cattle, it's greens for the family, it's medicinal plants. And the spraying of Roundup is like an ecocide of the planet, destroying diversity. The other brand of genetic engineering is Bt toxin crops. You take a genetically engineered toxin from a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis, which is why Bt, put it into the plant, and now this toxin is a ready-made toxin, different from the bacteria where it becomes a toxin in the gut of particular insects and therefore only targets the caterpillars. This ready-made toxin now starts to affect butterflies and bees. A Cornell study showed that butterflies fed with pollen from Bt corn had a much higher level of mortality. We've just done a recent study that's showing that soils with Bt cotton have lost nearly 30% of the soil microorganism within 3 years of cultivation. There are reports in India of cattle dying after grazing on Bt cotton fields because, after all, it's a toxin. And if this is happening to animals and bees, what's going to happen to human beings with a lifetime of feeding these toxic foods? There's also talk about producing more nutrition. A golden rice is talked about a lot. Well, golden rice has 34 micrograms of vitamin A equivalent. Real sources of vitamin A are greens. For example, the coriander leaf that we use in our curries, or the curry leaf, they have 1,400 micrograms. So a 70-fold reduction in vitamin A is sold as an increased availability of vitamin A. These are illusions that are being marketed in order for people to hand over the power to decide what we eat to a handful of corporations. This is not being done to improve the food supply or improve nutrition. It's being done to control food, because without genetic engineering, companies could not have patented seed. A seed patent means the right to exclude anyone from making, using, saving, developing the patented product. If it's a machine, it doesn't matter. If it's an aeroplane, it doesn't matter. Boeing makes aeroplane, a local citizen does not. But when it comes to seed, if Monsanto gets a patent right to seed, then a farmer saving seed is treated like a thief, an intellectual property thief. A farmer whose field is contaminated by a genetically engineered seed that Monsanto has sold through pollination or wind, that farmer who is a victim of pollution is also treated like a thief, because when seed becomes intellectual property, the existence of the genetically engineered traits anywhere without the patent holder's permission is treated like theft. This is how Percy Smicer in Canada was sued $200,000. 1,500 farmers of the United States have been sued by Monsanto after Monsanto contaminated their crops. This is putting the principle of the polluter pays into a principle of the polluter gets paid. So Monsanto has control over the seed through patents, and then control over the rest of the food through contamination. It's a very perverse situation. It has to change. It's non-sustainable, it's unjust, it's immoral, and the fact that they got away with it for 20 years should be no reason why they should get away with it for the next 20 years.
Okay, so that is the first video. I think I said earlier, what Vandana Shiva is a quantum physicist. She went into quantum physics and then started getting into the whole story of seeds and agriculture, and now that is her work. The story of Percy Smicer that she talked about real briefly, he was a farmer in Canada, if you don't know the story, who had developed over many, many, many years. I think he had been growing canola seeds for like 30 years and had developed a really good canola seed, and he was selling it and making a living. And unbeknownst to him, Monsanto had planted some GMO canola seeds down the road somewhere. The wind carried that genetic pollen into his field, and lo and behold, Monsanto would send people around to see if they could find their genetic, their GMO plants in other people's fields. They found them in Percy Smicer's field, and like she said, they sued him for $200 and something thousand for using their patented crop, and he never had a thing, he didn't even know about it. He didn't have a thing to do with it. He lost in court. He took it to the Supreme Court. Finally, he got a ruling many, many, many years later, and he got a ruling in his favor. And now, basically, he just travels around the country, around the world, talking about Monsanto and what they are up to. And he's not a farmer anymore. He's not able to be. He's gone on a new mission of trying to reveal Monsanto's insanity. So let's just continue here. Vandana, Shiva, this one's a little bit longer. It's 8 minutes. This is part 2 of the future of food. Here we go.
There are those that say that we can't feed the world without genetic manipulation of seeds and crops, and without commodification. How could we possibly feed all the hungry?
I think the first thing to recognize about hunger is that today it's a rural phenomena. It's mainly in third world countries, and it's mainly among communities that are actually agricultural communities. So why are people who are growing food going hungry themselves? They're going hungry because everything they have grown has to be sold in order to pay for the costly seeds and the costly chemicals. So a high cost, chemical intensive agriculture is a recipe for hunger. Secondly, the models of agriculture that chemical farming has promoted are monocultures. Monocultures are nutritionally impoverished. The same acre of land, using biodiversity, using organic and ecological methods, could produce 5 to 10 times more nutrition than a monoculture can. So maximizing the production of commodities for international trade is directly proportionate to the decrease in nutrition availability to local communities, which is why hunger grows. If the world has to be fed, it has to be fed by growing food locally, to be used locally as the biggest proportion of the food basket. Some elements will be traded internationally, but what is traded internationally should not be staple foods. What is traded internationally should be that extra flavor of spices from India and coffee from Guatemala. That's all right. But to turn the world into a dependency on staples has nothing to do with feeding the world. It has a lot to do with controlling the food supply. The United States evolved a phrase during the Vietnam War, and the phrase was food as a weapon. The use of food as the ultimate weapon of control. And the tragedy is the growth of agribusiness in the US has gone hand in hand with the US foreign policy to deliberately create hunger locally in order to make the world dependent on food supplies through which you can then control countries and their decision-making ability. So hunger has become an instrument of war. And food responding to that artificially created hunger is an instrument of war. Peace means you grow food locally, you grow food with peace, you grow food non-violently, and the countries that are today the worst victims of hunger could be the highest producer of food. Africa has the largest land per human being, per capita. Africa is an abundant continent, and yet because of the deliberate policies, it has today been turned into a continent of hunger. India, which has the best soils, the best monsoons, the highest biodiversity, should not have any problem. We're growing enough food, and yet 70% of our children are going hungry because the economic system is robbing them of their right to food. So food production must once again be an issue of sustainability, taking care of the earth, and the human right to food must be an inalienable right. These rights cannot be ensured through a marketplace where food has become a commodity and a subject of speculation. We saw what speculation did in 2008. Food prices doubled, and the companies that control the food system doubled their profits, while riots took place in 40 countries.
You can say what's going on with a scientific background that bought and paid for scientists and their studies have a hard time standing up to.
Absolutely.
And that's frightening.
They get very angry because I'm a woman, I'm a third worlder, but I'm a physicist, and I can add numbers So when the numbers don't add, and I say it, they get very angry because they think they can go through life fudging data.
Picking and choosing the data that supports what they want, the position
I think
they...
it's worse. It's not just picking and choosing the data. It is actually manufacturing the data. And there is, for example, the data that the Green Revolution produced more food is manufactured because they discounted elements outside wheat and rice. But India lives on more than wheat and rice. We eat pulses, we eat oil seeds, we eat millets. All of that was made to disappear. In the whole genetic engineering issue, it's a totally manufactured data that farmers are growing more or earning more. Monsanto studies always say Indian farmers have earned $27 billion more. No, $27 million more every year. Well, if they were earning that much more, why would they be committing suicide? In effect, most farmers growing BT are either in debt or just above, because the seed cost has jumped from 7 rupees a kilo to 17,000 rupees a kilo. And the pesticide use with these genetically engineered BT cotton seeds has increased 13-fold in 4 years of planting. So the package of expenditure is so huge. But this is never shown. What's manufactured is a Radhe Shyam who got 2,000 kilograms of cotton. We go to a Radhe Shyam and find out he got it on 5 acres, not per acre. So they manufacture the data and falsify the data. At this point, we are in a period of not just the risks of genetic contamination through genetically engineered crops, we are in a period of contamination of knowledge, where true knowledge has become a very, very rare availability in the public domain.
And without true knowledge, really true knowledge, how will we ever be able to make the right decisions about the way we want our world to go?
It's putting democracy at risk. It's putting security at risk. But if you don't know what the safety of a seed is, or if you don't know what the actual performance of a seed is, and it is all based on lies, then we will be having no food, we will be having no seed supply, and we will be told to believe in a miracle that's happening in Monsanto's labs.
But the miracle happens in the fields, and it's been happening in the fields and the prairies and the mountains for millennia.
I think that's the thing that the genetic engineering and biotechnology industry constantly forgets. That what they are trying to do is undo not just the freedoms of farmers to save seeds. They are trying to undo millennia of evolution, both in the past and into the future. They are unscrambling the tree of life itself. And that's a very, very risky business, because they can appropriate power, but with the power they have appropriated, they cannot perform the miracles that nature has performed over these millennia. They cannot perform the miracles that millions and billions of farmers are performing daily by saving seed, evolving seed, breeding seed, giving us food. And the separation of responsibility of bringing us food to the right to have ownership over life, that separation is at the heart of it. I have always felt that separation of rights from duties creates all kinds of dictatorships. It's only when you have a duty linked to a responsibility you will act for the common good.
Okay, so that's part 2. She is just one powerful human being, and it's really amazing to see her speak so clearly. It's really amazing also to see how many strong people are brought forth these days. She was going to be a quantum physicist. She was going to be working on, quantum physics, whatever they do. Do you know what they do? I couldn't tell you. I know it's really, really a complex science. It's very, very advanced. And what did she do? She settled on agriculture. She settled on seed. She settled on how business works around the globe, and is using her intellect in that way. And what I'm seeing is when you've got these ridiculously almost evil businesses out there just wreaking havoc on our system, wreaking havoc on our environment, on our social system, then very strong people come to the forefront, and she's one of them. And you can be one of them. We are all in this together. We all do our little part. So I'm going to just play part 3 here, and just enjoy Vandana Shiva. And I'm not sure what she'll be talking about in this, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. So here we go.
To me, organic farming is the beginning of learning once again what nature can do for us. Industrial farming was an attempt to make us believe there's nothing like a fertile soil. Soil is a container into which you put nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. There's nothing like a living seed. Seed is a manufactured commodity coming out of labs with a patent linked to it. And this idea of empty soil and empty seed, food continued to grow till there's a total collapse, just like in the banking system. We had artificial instruments of fictitious finance overriding the real economy till it all collapsed in Wall Street in September 2008. And everyone is still struggling to deal with that, the consequences of that crash. But the consequences of the crash of fictions in agriculture are even more serious, because after all, finance is finance, it's not life. But seed is life, food is life, and soil is life. Organic farmers relink to the soil and learn the real origins of soil fertility in the millions of microbes that make for soil fertility. A good organic farmer must start looking for the right planting material, and that is the miracle of the seed. And I increasingly respect the organic movement, which is why I said if I was an 18-year-old today, I would not go into physics. I would go into an organic farm. I am on an, I built the organic movement in India. But as an 18-year-old today, I would choose to be an organic farmer, because an organic farmer is the best scientist of today, because they're having to actually understand how nature works in order to produce. They are the best health specialists of today, because they're giving us the food that gives us health. It's not hospitals that give us health. Hospitals increasingly are giving us disease. An organic farmer is the best steward of the land and the best ecologist. And I'm increasingly feeling an organic farmer is the best peacemaker today, because there is more violence, more death, more destruction, and more wars through a violent industrial agriculture system. And to shift away from that into an agriculture of peace is what organic farming is doing.
Tell me what individuals can do.
I think what individuals can do and individuals are doing is recognizing that the food we eat comes somewhere from soil, comes somewhere from seed, comes somewhere from the loving efforts of a farmer. To recognize those links and to make those connections is vital. I think the second very, very important thing is everyone is an eater. You eat 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day, you snack your life, your way through life. Whatever you do for food, you eat. And food is not just the commodity in Cargill's container ships. Food is the future of our blood, our cells, our bones. And I think we have to relate back to food as the future of our bodies. Therefore, every time we eat, we have to recognize the vitality of food, the sacredness of food, and link back through that into how food is grown. The only way we will really know how food is grown is if we have a neighbor who is an organic grower with whom we link. It means an effort. But that tiny bit of effort means security overall. A careless walking down a Walmart aisle where you don't know where the food is coming from, what's in it, is going to condemn you to all kinds of health problems, disease problems, but most importantly, it's going to rob you of fundamental freedom. Before you know it, you won't be able to make the choice. You'll be able to eat 70 products of genetically modified soya, all of it coming from Monsanto seeds, all of it traded by one Cargill. And when you want something else, it won't be available to you. So every day's act of eating is an act of creating freedom. And doing it consciously, doing it with choice, has to be something we construct. As Gandhi said, we have to be the change we want to see. And then we have to drive the governments to shape the policies that make it easy and everyday. Today's policies are going in the opposite direction, and therefore ordinary people have to shape the world in today's time.
But you are seeing hope.
I see tremendous hope. First of all, I see hope in the seed. And that's why, for me, seed is my teacher. There's a wonderful poem that captured it in Palestine, said, "You can drop bombs on my villages, you can destroy all my books, you can rob us of our culture, and you can create a landscape where no bird, no insect, nothing can hide. But I do not despair ever. I have hope, because I save one seed that I will plant and grow again." And that power of the seed is the beginning of hope. But the seed is not just the biological material that gives us a tree or a crop. The seed is a metaphor of everything that grows. The seed of an idea, the seed of liberation, the seed of freedom, the seed of democracy. For us, seeds have become all of this. And I'm in a period of deep hope, because I think, you know, when the destruction, constraints, and dictatorship is not too intense, people do not sense it. It's a bit like that frog, where you increase the temperatures little by little, and like frogs, we get burned to death. But when it's a huge leap in temperature, frogs jump out. The corporate greed is creating a huge leap in the temperature of control, and people are now sensing it. And that is why I have huge hope that human beings like the frog are going to jump out of this dictatorship and create new freedom.
Okay, that was part 3. Those are our Vandana Shiva videos today, and I really loved some of the stuff she was saying there. The temperature has gotten turned up really rapidly on us. That's why I'm sitting here. That's why Alex is sitting in the booth running the equipment for us. That's why we meet every Saturday. That's why we meet every Sunday. I meet twice a week, because the temperature has gotten turned up suddenly. I was really happy living in Redwood Valley on our little cooperative acreage there, and playing lots of music, and doing my landscaping for a living, and not being politically active. But when things turned so ugly, I couldn't say no any longer. I had to jump out of that boiling water. I had to do something. We can all do something. We all have to do our little part. And also, that's why Peaches is here today. You got to support your local farmers. You don't have to be a farmer. It's wonderful if you've got organic vegetables in your backyard or your front yard, or if you have a plot at the community garden. But not everybody has to be an organic farmer. But it's really important to know where your food comes from, and to support the guys who are really, really good at growing their food. And you can, say, fix the car or do the landscaping or paint the house, and they can grow your food. That's what makes a village. That's what makes the world go round. $20 of free farmers market bucks. And why do we shop at the farmers market? Because it supports our local farmers. If we don't support our local farmers, you're going to be forced to buy from Walmart, from Safeway, from all those guys. And it's all going to be GMO. It's not going to be good organic seed. Okay, well, that's about all we're going to have for the show today. The only thing we have left is our Howard Zinn quote. And we can go back to the blue screen for that. And our Howard Zinn quote for the day: if those in charge of our society, politicians, corporate executives, and owners of press and television, can dominate our ideas, they'll be secure in their power. They will not need soldiers patrolling the streets. We will control ourselves. So let's take control of our world. Let's control ourselves. Please come and join us. Do whatever you can to improve things. There's a mess going on out there. You name any aspect of life today. Food, housing, business, banking, transportation, heating, cooling, fuel, all of that. It needs to be redone. It's a big, tall order. Don't just sit on your couch and watch us on TV. Get up and help out. You're more talented than you know. Okay. So that's about all from today for September 20th, 2012. This is Charlie Vaughn and Alex Bergdahl signing off, and we'll see you around town.